Why, it's the fresh new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5. Hooray!
Order the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5 before the 31st of August 2023 and you'll save up to 744 quid guaranteed when trading in an eligible device using Vodafone's trade-in tool. The Galaxy Z Flip 5 is available to buy now from £17 a month with a 49 quid upfront cost. And that's with 8 gigs of data on Vodafone's reliable award-winning network.
A massive thanks to Vodafone for sponsoring this video. Now let's whip the Galaxy Z Flip 5 on out of that box, test out the camera tech, gaming chops, all that good stuff. So first up, what do you get inside that box besides the Galaxy Z Flip 5? Well, the answer is very little indeed. You've basically got yourself a Type-C USB charging cable and a wee pokey pin to get your SIM into the Z Flip 5. And that's your lot. Samsung is once again saving the planet by not bunging a power adapter in there. So definitely don't hoy away your adapter from your old phone. Alright, so that was nice and easy. So now let's turn our attention to the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5's design, and two massive upgrades immediately apparent as soon as you yank it out of the box. The first is, of course, the absolutely enormous cover screen, which almost fills the front end of the phone now. Plenty more on that in a bit. And the second is that fresh new Flex Hinge. Of course, previous Samsung flip phones have been rather gappy, shall we say, but that's not the case here on the Z Flip 5. As you can see, when the phone is closed up, there's no distance between that front and back panel. They're smushed together like they're besties. So that means that the Z Flip 5 is just 15mm thick now, a good couple of mils thinner than the previous model. And it's still wonderfully compact as well. This thing will slip into basically any pocket bag. Wherever you want to shove it, it will go. To a certain degree, of course. And same as the previous generation, it weighs just 187 grams, so proper lightweight. You've got a choice of 4 colours for the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5: mint, lavender, cream and graphite. This right here is the mint model, and mint it most certainly is. A lovely bright happy shade, and you've got the latest Gorilla Glass Victus 2 protecting that arse end as well as the front. Plus a bit of armour aluminium for the edging and for that new Flex Hinge. So overall this should be quite a rugged wee chap. Victus 2 tends to be fairly scratch resistant, certainly compared with the original Victus glass, and still good if you drop it face down on a bit of concrete or whatever, tends not to shatter. And the Galaxy Z Flip 5 is also IPX8 water resistant, so you can actually drop it in a sink or a bathtub and it won't completely bulk up. Now the Galaxy Z Flip 5 is running Android 13 with, of course, Samsung's own One UI smothered on top. That includes the peace of mind of 5 years of software updates, so hopefully several OS upgrades means the Galaxy Z Flip 5 isn't obsolete and chucked in the bin after just a year or two. And if you're familiar with Samsung smartphones, you'll know exactly what to expect here on the Galaxy Z Flip 5. You've got a stock Android vibes, you've got your apps tray, you've got your drag down notifications bar, but it's all got a distinct Samsung feel to it, especially as they've chucked on a whole bunch of their own services and apps. So as usual, for every Google app, there's pretty much a Samsung alternative, like a web browser, a health tracker, bit of smart home shenanigans, voice recording action, the Samsung wallet, etc, etc, the list goes on. And some of the extra services that Samsung has chucked on top of Android are actually pretty bloody good, including the modes and routines. Pretty good if you like to automate stuff on your smartphone. And Samsung's Smart Switch is well worth a gander, especially if you're shifting over from one of those awful fruity phones. Allows you to transfer all of your bits over nice and easy. And of course you've got some special features tailored to flexible phones, which we'll be checking out in a bit. And on the storage front, well, Samsung has generously doubled the storage of the base model now, so you've got 256 gigs chucked on there. You can upgrade that to 512 gigs if you think you're going to be using up lots of storage space. Sadly not expandable via microSD. And as always, Samsung takes its security really seriously. So here on the Z Flip 5, you've got an edge-mounted fingerprint sensor. Otherwise, you've also got face unlock, either when the phone is folded up using those external cameras. Otherwise, simply unfurl the Z Flip 5 and that internal camera will scan your mug and again, boom, straight in. Now the star of the show on the Z Flip 5 is naturally that Flex window cover screen, fresh and new for 2023. It's a 3.4-inch Super AMOLED display, so nice and poppy as you can see there. Those colours really shine. It's a 720 by 748 resolution, which keeps those visuals nice and crisp, even tiny text clearly legible. If Viewing angles are nice and wide, and it's pleasingly bright as well, so easy to see even when you're outdoors. However, the refresh rate does max out at 60Hz, so it's not quite as silky smooth as some rivals like the Moto Razr 40 Ultra. That said, it still feels pretty nippy. Certainly wouldn't say it was sluggish or anything, helped along by the Snapdragon smarts that run the show here. And the new cover screen UI, very easy to get to grips with. So for instance, swipe right and you've got full notifications access. You can reply to any messages, etc. in there. A little swipey swipe from the top, it gives you all of your toggles, airplane mode, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, yada yada. You can turn on that torch if you want to. And the Galaxy Z Flip 5 will very kindly tell you to turn the phone away from your eyeballs as well, so you aren't utterly blinded when you turn that on. And then if you swipe this away, you can access all of your various widgets that you've switched on for that cover screen. And because it's such a big panel now, you can comfortably fit all kinds of stuff on there. All that information isn't cramped up like it was on the Z Flip 4. It really is such a pleasure to use in comparison. And Samsung has really thought things through here. So for instance, you don't have to swipe left and right to find the widget that you want. You can just pinch at any point and just tap straight into whatever it is you're looking for. I haven't actually done over 4,000 steps today, by the way, that's a complete lie. It's kind of a placeholder because I haven't set up the health stuff yet. I'll take credit for that without having earned it. You can also, once you've set it up, swipe up on that cover screen for the Samsung wallet so you can quickly pay for stuff, bring up your tickets, whatever else. And that cover display is fully customizable. You just got to go into the phone proper and you'll see there's a proper cover screen section in the settings. Now you've got a good variety of different designs that you can choose from tucked away in here. Some with widgets and other bits, some a little bit more simple. I'm not really sure what the crazy heart thing's all about, but yeah. When you've chosen a design, you can change up the colors down here, get a whatever hue you fancy. You could also change up the shortcuts button here, which is set to the camera by default, but you can make it the torch, calendar, weather, small selection of stuff, or you can just have it open up your apps menu. Inside of the cover screen settings menu is also where you choose exactly what widgets you want stuck away on there. You can activate or deactivate whatever you want and also reorder them. You can respond to messages either using an actual QWERTY keyboard or using the quick responses, which I would personally recommend rather than tapping on a teeny wee keyboard. I know that cover screen is bigger, but it's not that big. And also naturally you can add your very own gallery images to that cover screen, because after all, absolutely nothing can't be improved with a random fuzzy friend. And of course it would be a real shame if you had this massive cover screen and you couldn't actually run any apps on it. Well, thankfully the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5 does allow you to run a small selection of your apps at least on that dinky flex window, including good old YouTube, which frankly probably is the best way to enjoy one of my videos, because then you can't notice all those wrinkles, sags, bags, and generally how crap the video is. Although you can zoom in with a bit of a pinch. Ugh. I can see this being worthwhile for just propping up and watching a bit of YouTube while you're having a coffee break or whatever. I gotta say though, I do not know who is watching Netflix on this teeny wee screen. It's just a wee bit absurd. That map support will be pretty handy though, not having to whip out your phone and unfurl it every time you just want to check you're wandering in the right direction. Anywho, let's once again flip the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5 open and check out that mighty 6.7-inch internal display. Now this is Samsung's Dynamic AMOLED 2X tech, once again same as the last generation, Full HD Plus resolution, 2640 by 1080 pixels. So yeah, hey, it's a bit of a stunner. I don't even really need to go into details here, do I? As always, bright poppy colours that smack you right in the face with their vivid awesomeness. HDR10 plus streaming support in the likes of Netflix, of course, crispy contrast. Nice deep blacks, not murky greys or anything, nice crisp clean whites. Those visuals just look beautifully natural. It's obviously quite a stretched aspect ratio, which is well suited to cinematic fare. It means you get a proper full view experience without any awkward letterboxing. Although of course if you are watching more standard boxy formats, then you do get a fair bit of pillar boxing instead. And yes, there is a centrally positioned selfie cam slightly intruding on the action when you do go full screen as usual. Of course, when you're dealing with a flexible screen like this one of the biggest questions is always how bad is that crease? And the answer is it's not terrible. It doesn't really seem any better than the previous gen. Generally not noticeable when you're looking at the screen head on, but when you tilt it just a little bit to the side, you do notice the wee trench, the wee groove right there in the middle. And of course, yes, you can feel it quite clearly too when you run your thumb over that groove. And yeah, that screen protector is very shiny as always, does reflect sunlight pretty badly. But thankfully this screen is super bright, so it does counter glare quite well. Oh, and by the way, definitely check out the Samsung Boost offers. This serves up a variety of extended free trials to various subscription services. So for instance, you can get 12 full months of free Disney Plus. I will be slapping my SIM card into the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5 and using it as my full-time smartphone. So for more on that display and just how usable it is on a sunshiny day, unlike today, definitely stay tuned for that in-depth review. As for the refresh rate, well, that now scales all the way down to 1 Hz as well as all the way up to 120 Hz, so silky smooth when it needs to be with supported apps. It can also drop right down when you're not really using that screen, just viewing a static image, for instance, in order to preserve battery life. And you've got a stereo speaker setup when you do go full screen like so. Let's bump up the volume, check it out. These suck up all of that ambient noise, and then you've got the integrated processor V2 as well as HD noise cancelling processor QN2E. And that's some pretty respectable audio there, especially for such a compact device overall. Decent clarity out of those speakers, even though it is the bottom speaker that is pulling the majority of the weight, that earpiece speaker, a wee bit tinny. But overall, pretty solid stuff. Of course, you don't have a headphone jack here on the Z Flip 5. So unless you want to use one of those dongly efforts, you'll definitely be relying on the Bluetooth wireless streaming when you want to get some headphones on the go. And of course, courtesy of that stiff hinge, you can basically prop up that display like so and enjoy a bit of YouTube hands-free while you're doing a bit of cooking, cleaning, whatever. And yes, Samsung's Flex mode is back in action too. So let's turn our attention to the performance, and the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5 is powered by Qualcomm's almighty Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which is stuffed inside of most of the flagships in 2023. So it's not exactly a massive shocker that the performance so far on the Z Flip 5 has been absolutely flawless. No jitters or stumbles as you're flipping around, opening different apps, even doing a good bit of multitasking. And yes, if you are a mobile gaming fan, well, no worries. The likes of Genshin Impact, PUBG, Free Fire, whatever you're into, it should run with a blissfully, wonderfully fluid frame rate. I will be fully testing out the gaming chops of the Z Flip 5 for my in-depth review, but in my first 24 hours with the phone, I've really enjoyed a good bit of Genshin, with those graphics settings boosted all the way to the max levels. Yes, you will see the occasional drop in that frame rate, especially when things get a little bit crazy, but overall the gameplay remains nice and fluid. Certainly any little judders and stumbles in that frame rate didn't really impact the gameplay, still really enjoyed it, despite not having the faintest freaking clue what I was supposed to be doing at any given moment. And even when gaming for over an hour, the Z Flip 5 remains pretty cool considering how compact this thing is. There's not exactly much room in that slender chassis for proper cooling tech. But when it comes to the battery tech, unfortunately Samsung hasn't managed to find room in that compact chassis for an even bigger battery compared with last year. So once again, a 3700 mAh capacity cell. So that means if you are a more demanding user, chances are you're going to have to plug this bugger in before the end of the day, so you're not running on absolute dregs in the evening. Of course, I could be wrong on that count. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is pleasingly energy efficient. So here's hoping this Sammy blower will comfortably last a full day on a single charge. But again, you'll have to stay tuned for my in-depth review for the final verdict on that one. And sadly, if you are running low on juice, the Galaxy Z Flip 5 isn't exactly super fast when it comes to recharging, despite Samsung's claims. It's 25 watt wired charging, but you do have wireless charging in here as well for a bit of flexibility. Now let's finish up this smashing Galaxy Z Flip 5 unboxing with a squint at that camera tech, and what you've got here is a dual lens setup that appears to be the same hardware as last year. So what we're talking is a 12 megapixel dual focus primary sensor with optical image stabilization built in, and apparently that lens has been upgraded as well to help prevent nasty flaring whenever you're shooting around strong light sources. And that is backed here on the Z Flip 5 by a simple 12 megapixel ultra wide angle shooter, which is pretty good if you want a more pulled back view, try and fit more into frame. Now naturally, one of the benefits of that enlarged cover screen is the fact that you can now use it more comfortably in order to take selfies with that external camera setup. It's nice and easy to use. All you need to do is raise a hand and you will start that countdown. Otherwise you can also snap away using the old volume rocker. And as always, my selfie abilities are on point. It's a pretty basic, simple UI when you are shooting in selfie mode like so. Swipe this way and you've got access to the portrait mode, which is always handy if you want to blur out the background, make it all about your beautiful mug. Otherwise, if you swipe in the other direction, you bring up the video mode.
Got access to a small selection of settings if you tap this wee button here. So you can see the usual timer. You can make those color tones a bit warmer if you fancy. And in the old video mode, as long as you're shooting in 16:9 format, you will be able to boost that resolution all the way up to 4K at 60 FPS. But of course, if you unfurl the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5, you've got access to the full range of Samsung's camera smarts, or the usual portrait mode and everything, of course, and a butt ton of bonus features, including that Pro mode if you want to fiddle about with the white balance, the ISO levels, etc. All those Sammy classics like single take, you've got a night mode, dedicated food mode if you can't eat your bloody dinner without posting a picture of it on Instagram first. And I've only spent a short amount of time with the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip so far, but here's a smattering of photo samples to give you an idea of how good that camera is. The Z Flip 5 certainly seems to be a capable everyday pocket photography thing. Even when you're dealing with strong contrast or more ambient lighting conditions, the Z Flip 5 doesn't seem to cack its pants. And in the evenings, you've got that brilliant night mode to really help brighten things up, capture some nice natural looking tones. But anyway, stay tuned for that full in-depth Galaxy Z Flip 5 review for my full final verdict on that camera tech. As for that internal camera stuck away here on the mighty 6.7-inch display, well, that again seems to be recycled hardware. It's a 10 megapixel shooter, just like the Z Flip 4. And you may be wondering, why does that selfie cam even exist on this internal display when you can just take selfies using the external camera? But it's very handy indeed if you are going to be doing a bit of Skyping or something. You can just set the Z Flip 5 down and use it hands-free like so. Can once again capture you at up to 4K resolution at 60 frames per second, and as you can hear, the mics do a pretty good job of picking up my voice even when I stray a fair way from that lens. And that, in a lovely wee nutshell, is the fresh new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5. Goes on sale August the 11th. As I say, you can pre-order yours right now from Vodafone. Just check out the link in the video description below my chatty head. I'll tell you everything you need to know. A massive thanks again to Vodafone for sponsoring this video. Stay tuned for my in-depth Z Flip 5 review. I'll also be unboxing the fresh new Galaxy Z Fold 5, the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, loads of bloody Samsung devices, so definitely please do poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech, mostly Samsung related. And have yourselves a bloody wonderful rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you!